So at this point, this is Marie Sullivan. I'm going to convene our governing board meeting for today, starting with the work session. Want to remind everyone that we are live captioning our meetings. So please look in the chat window of our WebEx meeting where you will find a link. Please click on that link to open a web page with the live captioning. I'm going to officially call us to order the work session of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board for June 28th, 2022. Also, for the record, I will call roll vote of the board members, acknowledging that this is not a mandatory session. For the record then, Mr. Evans, are you present? Ms. Bittersmith, I know it's not available with an excused absence. Mrs. McGrath.
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Narini?
I'm present.
Thank you. Ms. Smith also has an excused absence for a work session. Moving to Dr. Thor, are you present?
I'm here.
Thank you. Ms. Nguyen?
Present.
Thank you. With my presence, we have 5 board members present, with 2 excused absences. I also would like to tell everyone that tonight we have our incoming student board member, Mr. Lynn Burnett.
I have the thing on, so it's going to be challenging for us.
I beg your pardon?
I got to have the.
I'm sorry, Elsa, I missed that. What was that?
That's okay. We went ahead and muted her. It's okay.
Okay, thank you. All right. Again, I wanted to remind tell everyone that tonight we have our incoming board member, Mr. Lynn Burnett, with us for the work session and into the meetings. Just as an acknowledgement, welcome, and we'll remind everyone he'll be sitting in right now just to be prepared for his term that begins on July 1, 2022. So welcome, Mr. Burnett. We're glad you're with us this evening.
Thank you for having me, Madam President.
Certainly. We're also having a work session. We are going to report on one item, and that is a tuition review. And with that, Dr. Gonzalez, would you like to introduce our presenters?
Yes, President Sullivan, members of the board, CEC, and guests who are with us this late afternoon on work session. As you indicated, it will be a tuition review for the fiscal year of 2023-24. So we're beginning preparation for our next cycle of financial planning and budgeting. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Kim Granillo, who is our current interim chief financial officer, and she's going to lead you through this presentation. Kim, take it away, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gonzalez. Before I get started, I was asked to come up with a song choice. And although I'm still claim that I'm the least musically inclined in the system, the song choice I picked for today is "One is the Loneliest Number" by Three Dog Night. And I just want to share that it may be me giving the presentation today, but there are so many hands in this presentation to get us here today. And as you've heard me say before, and I will keep saying, we're all in this work together. So it is one is a lonely number, and that is not us at Maricopa, thank goodness. So with that then, President Sullivan, Chancellor Gonzalez, governing board members, members of CEC, colleagues, and guests. As Dr. Gonzalez said, I am Kim Granillo, and I'm the interim chief financial officer for the district. And I thank you very much for giving me some time today to provide data and information about Maricopa's tuition as we think about potential changes and budgets in the coming years. And with that, we can go to the next slide, please, Elsa. On our agenda for today is a review, again, of the 5-year financial projections that we first talked about in January of this year. We're going to talk about how revenues correlate to costs. We'll also take a look at basic tuition and a look at differential tuition. And finally, we'll wrap it up with next steps that we have for the coming months. And with that, we'll go to the next slide, please. And also, I think you might have to lower your the screen to Zoom or something. Otherwise, you're going to be scrolling up and down a lot. So I just wanted to take a moment and start with a reminder of our 5-year projections that we presented back in January. It does include revenues and expenditures, again, for the 5 years. On the revenue side, it does include projected annual increases in enrollment beginning in fiscal year 24. 23 enrollment was planned to be flat from the fiscal year 22 expected enrollment. And we also included property taxes from new construction and no other increases in property taxes for operations in the general fund. And then if you remember on the expenditure side, for 23, we had a couple of relatively small increases for marketing and the foundation, and then also year 2 of the strategic compensation plan. And there are no other new expenditures in 23 planned or for future years other than the strategic compensation plan that is supported by the governing board for the next, I think we have 3 more years. Again, we're presenting a 5-year look to get a better view of our financial position, show what it will really take to get us back to a balanced budget. And as you can see, with this plan, we get back there somewhere around fiscal years 26 and 27. And then also to prepare our system for budget reductions as we have planned. We had 1.5% reduction in fiscal 23, and we are planning for another 1% in 24 and 25. And if we go to the next slide, Elsa. Part of the plan that we have in place, or what this plan presents to us, is in addition to those budget reductions, a key piece to getting Maricopa back to a balanced budget in the coming 4 to 5 years is to consider changes in basic tuition and the implementation of differential tuition for Maricopa in those coming years. And today we will focus on those 2 elements. And if we go to the next slide, after that quick review of where we are today, we're going to take a look at how revenues correlate to costs. If we can go to the next slide, please, Elsa. So for Maricopa, we have 2 main sources of revenue at this point in time. We have tuition, which is correlated with enrollment. However many students we have is how much tuition revenue we have, or however many credit hours are taken, I should say. And then property taxes are very steady and primarily unrelated to enrollment levels for the most part. And then we also have essentially 2 types of costs for the district. One being classroom instruction, which, as you can imagine, is highly correlated with enrollment, and then also everything else. More steady, less correlated with enrollment. And examples of these could be utilities, student services for the most part, public service, administration, et cetera. I will share that academic support likely fits somewhere in the middle of these 2 categories of expenses, but because they're somewhat impacted by enrollment, of course. However, they're not limited by classroom space, faculty to student ratios, et cetera. And then another thing I want to make sure to point out is that academic preparedness of students, or potentially lack thereof, likely has more impact than the number of students served when it comes to academic support and those wraparound services that we've talked about as a system over the last several months. And with that, then we'll go to the next slide. And I just want to push the point home that the revenue source that is correlated with enrollment also is correlated with classroom instruction. And while Maricopa doesn't specifically match expenditures to specific revenue streams, nor do we advocate starting to do that, there is a clear correlation between tuition revenue and classroom instructional costs and enrollment, while property taxes continue to provide a highly stable revenue source, which is far less correlated with enrollment, again, covering essentially many of the other expenses that we experience as a system. And so if we go to the next slide, please, Elsa. And building further on that idea and taking a look at our instructional costs, or as we were looking at our instructional costs, we were somewhat surprised to some degree to learn that the calculated cost per credit hour of just the instructor, which is simply I'll put in air quotes, the actual faculty compensation of the $188 million you see on the first line in this chart, is greater than the current basic tuition rate by really $32.65 per hour. So essentially, every credit hour we offer is costing us $32 more than we collect in tuition. This does not include any other direct costs of instruction, such as materials not covered by course fees, technologies used in the classroom, etc. This is simply the cost of the instructor. I want to share, we wanted to look at fiscal year 2020 as it is the most recent and kind of normal year, again in quotes, prior to the pandemic. I suspect that this gap might even be more in the most recent couple of years that we have been experiencing. And so with that, we'll go to the next slide, Elsa. And this leads us to really a fundamental problem for Maricopa, that when instructional costs exceed tuition, growth makes our financial woes worse, not necessarily better. On the expenditure side of the house, just as a reminder, and we have seen this in the last couple of years or in the presentation for the strategic compensation plan, we're not at market rates for employee compensation, although our 5-year plan gets us closer. That doesn't even account for the inflation rates we've had in the past year. We also have several vacancies as a system that remain unfilled, in many cases due to recruiting challenges. And while budgets have not been reduced for lower enrollment in recent years, we also have not provided any increases to offset high inflation rates seen most certainly in the past year, and that does affect our expenditures overall as a system. So if we go to the next slide, please, Elsa. And so again, since more enrollment digs the hole deeper and our compensation and expenses are below market and have not been adjusted to cover inflation, we believe that we need to take a look at revenues. And so if we go to the next slide. If we step back and take a look at the composition of our general fund revenues, you can see that historically Maricopa has had what was often referred to as a three-legged stool of funding, with the 3 legs being property taxes, tuition, and state aid. And in many cases, for several years, it actually was a third, a third, and a third. And as you can see, starting in fiscal year 2008, and you can go to the next slide, please, Elsa. In fiscal year 2008, even at that time, we were nowhere close to having it split in thirds. And that, as you can see in the chart, has declined significantly over time as far as the state aid column goes. So if you look again at fiscal year 2008, we were at 62% for property taxes, 25.5% for tuition and fees, and 11% in state aid. And if we go to the next slide and we'll focus on fiscal year 12, that approach kept going for a few years, although state aid was starting to decline as a percentage of revenues, and tuition and fees was slowly increasing over those few years up until fiscal year 12, and then again, we'll focus on 12. Then in 12 is when we saw our largest decline in state appropriations, and tuition and fees made up some of the loss of state aid. And tuition was up to 35% of our general fund resources. I want to share, though, that fiscal year 2011 is when we saw our largest increase in enrollment. And just for context, actual tuition revenue exceeded budget by $10 million. And that was a primary result of the Great Recession. And this, coupled with a $5 per credit hour tuition increase we put in for 2012, results really in that large increase you see, relatively large increase you see in budgeted tuition for fiscal 12. And that's when we got up to the 35% of total resources for the general fund. And then if we go to the next slide, we'll move to fiscal 23, which is the year we just approved. And steadily over the past 6 years, you can see that we've increased our reliance on property taxes, again, a very stable source of revenue for our system. And you can see that with the fiscal 23 budgets, we're up to 76% of general fund resources is coming from property taxes as compared to percents that ran in the 60s in earlier years. And as we saw earlier this year, continuously increasing property taxes results in challenges with the expenditure limit. So if we go to the next slide, please, Elsa. To summarize where we are, we clearly have 2 main sources of revenue at this point in time. And we've also, I think, shared that property taxes already exceed our expenditure limit and make it difficult for us to increase. So therefore, the conclusion is that we believe it's appropriate to look at tuition for the coming years. And to put a finer point on it, to close the gap, we would need to raise tuition $32 per credit hour, and that's just to cover, again, the cost of the instruction. This large adjustment certainly isn't what we will propose. We just want to share what our research shows. And with that, let's look at a little bit more information on basic tuition. Next slide, please, Elsa. So we showed this slide previously as well. We have updated it for fiscal 22 and added in fiscal 23. And this is a look at tuition as it's adjusted for inflation. It is, again, very clear that we've not kept up with, as we've not adjusted per credit hour tuition in several years, what we've charged has not kept up with inflation, yet our costs, as we've also shared, to provide classes and to simply operate are impacted by inflation. And again, we have updated and included the fiscal 23 estimated inflation rates. And with that, we'll go to the next slide. And this is simply a graphical view of what you saw on the table before, which again, I think even more illustrates the gap between inflation and our tuition rates. And we'll go to the next slide and we'll take a little different look at Maricopa's tuition history. In 1985, we were charging $14 per credit hour, and just to be clear, that was a combination of tuition rate and a mandatory activity fee. That was a per credit hour fee. That gets us to the $14, just in case anybody decides to go back and look at historical records. We did roll the activity fee into tuition in 2015, so it is comparable for us to say 1985 was $14 and 2015 is $84 per credit hour. So if we were to just take a simple average of those increases over the 30 years, it ends up being about a 6.24% increase annually. And then if we look at 2016 compared to 2023, that's an average annual increase over the 7 years of 0.17%. while average inflation for the same period ran about 3.43%. I will point out that that 7-year average, or the range from 2016 to 2023, does include a $2 increase to $85 in fiscal 17 and a $1 decrease to $85 in fiscal 19. And again, we just want to illustrate that we haven't increased the cost to students while the system has been experiencing increased costs to provide the instruction and services to students. And on the next slide, we also wanted to look at how our tuition compares to Pell Grants. In fiscal year 2014-15, the average Pell Grant was just over $3,600, and our tuition rate for a total of $216 means that the average Pell Grant paid 183% of Maricopa's tuition. I will point out that the maximum Pell Grant in fiscal year 15 was $5,730. In fiscal year 21-22, the average Pell Grant was $4,491, which is a 22% growth over fiscal 15. And then Maricopa's tuition rate at a total of $2,040, which again is a 1% growth over 2015, means that the average Pell Grant paid 220% of Maricopa's tuition. And the maximum Pell Grant for fiscal 22 was $6,495, which was a 13% growth in the maximum Pell Grant. And as the note says, this does assume that students are taking 24 credits per year. And on the next slide, we want to compare Maricopa's annual tuition rates and annual, and sorry, Elsa, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. And annual changes to those of our sister districts, or the average of those districts, as well as a couple of our competitors being ASU and Grand Canyon University, as well as a peer institution being Alamo Colleges. You can see that the increases by our sister districts in Arizona and our competitors over the years significantly outpaces Maricopa's. And with that, we'll go to the next slide, where we have more detail on the college districts in Arizona. And so again, a display of how the rates and changes, the annual changes for our sister districts have look over the years. And I do want to point out that all of the districts other than us and Pima Community College District do receive operational state aid from Arizona as well, whereas again, we do not. I will also point out that if you look at fiscal year 23, which is the bottom line there, Maricopa is the 4th lowest tuition rate in the state, and that is also including the fact that Pinal gets a pass, I'll say, for zeroing out their tuition and using HERF dollars instead for fiscal 22. And you can see that in 23, they have reestablished a portion of what they used to have as tuition. I anticipate that they will go back to the more normalized tuition rates once the HERF dollars are expended. So with that, then now we want to move more into the differential tuition space. And so if we can go to the next slide, please, Elsa, and one more. So we now want to talk about another tuition problem that we have. So the previous slide spoke to Maricopa's courses costing nearly $33 per credit hour more than the tuition revenue collected was for Maricopa courses as a whole, which you'll see the cost on that top line there of the $117 and the $124. Now we'll share that the same cost is, or we'll share that the cost per credit also varies widely across disciplines. And again, as a reminder, this is the cost for the instructor, not total instructional costs. And these costs range from actually a negative of $1.94 for the education areas. As a reminder, this is fiscal year 20 information, so I would imagine that by the time we get to 22, if we were to look at it again, it likely is to be greater than $85 as the cost for the education programs. And so we can see that they range, if we ignore education and look at communication and humanities, it's a difference or a cost to the system of $18.21, all the way up to the higher end auto, aviation, and manufacturing that has a cost burden to Maricopa of $133.25 per credit hour. And if we go to the next slide please, Elsa. The shortage of the tuition to cover the cost of the instructor for the course essentially is digging our financial hole a little bit deeper and also clashes with our system's priorities. We want to increase enrollment, of course, and the governing board has charged the chancellor with doing just this. Many of the opportunities for growth are centered in the career and technical education areas, or CTE areas. As we have limitedly shown on the slide before, these are our highest cost disciplines to provide. I will also share that CTE FTSE generally runs between 32 and 35% of total FTSE for Maricopa. Again, the hole just gets deeper. And if we go to the next slide, please. I want to move to a very specific example, and that being nursing. Again, using fiscal 20 information, Maricopa offered 500 sections of nursing courses in UR prefix. Obviously, there's a high priority to increase capacity for nursing graduates to meet workforce needs. And if we think about fiscal year 20, although this would have been the tail end of 20, we had done a lot of that at the leading end of the pandemic as well. The average cost of instruction per credit hour in nursing is $270.68, which means it's a net cost to Maricopa of $185 per credit hour. And even if we were to charge $125 per credit hour, every extra credit hour of nursing would lose the college an additional $145.68. If we go to the next slide, based on the cost data and the fact that our least expensive courses are essentially subsidizing our most expensive courses, we would like to explore differential tuition for Maricopa. The theory is that this approach supports more of the pay what you owe philosophy, higher tuition for higher cost programs. Differential tuition already exists at all 3 Arizona State universities, and sometimes that is in the manner of program fees for very specific programs, and also at 3 of the state's community college districts, being Pima, Coconino, and Yavapai. They all do it a little bit differently, and we have more details on the next few slides. But in summary, Coconino has a max tuition of 188.5% of base tuition. Pima has a max tuition of 186.2% of base tuition, and Yavapai has a max tuition of 210.5% of base tuition. And with that, we'll go to the next slide. And the first, I guess, deeper dive or more detailed view is of Coconino's differential tuition. They have multiple levels, and also you don't need to go to the next slide, but because we'll get to that in a second, but they actually have 9 different levels of differential tuition, and they have subject areas that are interspersed among the levels. So for instance, biology is in 2 different levels, nursing classes are in 2 different levels, art is included in 4 different levels, and it just depends on the classes that are actually being offered. They do range between a $5 per credit hour surcharge at level 1, all the way up to a $100 per credit hour surcharge for level 9. And I will point out that there are no course fees that are charged for these classes, so they have rolled everything into the differential tuition. And so you can go to the next slide, Elsa, and I just want to just emphasize that's one way to do it. On the next slide, we'll look at PIMA's model. And they have essentially 2 different levels, A and B. And tuition level A is 50% more than the basic tuition at $131 per credit hour. And differential tuition B is 86% more than their basic tuition at $162 per credit hour. They do have just simply their 2 levels, and the higher cost classes are in one or the other, generally based on prefix. And I will note here that they do continue to charge course fees for courses, even if there is differential tuition that is charged. And on the next slide, we'll take a quick look at Yavapai Community College. And so again, they have a couple of different levels on the next slide, which also you don't need to move to yet. They do have some market-based classes. We'll look at those in just a second. They have theirs essentially split out by a laboratory course rate, and then they have their second level is their CTE course rate. And their laboratory course rate is about 16% higher than basic tuition at $110 per credit hour, and their CTE courses are at 28% higher than basic at $122 per credit hour. And if you go to the next slide, Elsa, they also do have a handful of courses that they charge market tuition rates for, such as nursing at $160 per credit hour, radiology at $177 per credit hour. And as noted, some of their courses have additional course fees. So kind of to summarize this piece of it, we can see that among the 3 college districts that have differential tuition, 2 do continue to separate course fees from tuition, as Maricopa has done. As I think we've talked about before, we have maintained the position that tuition is used for the instructor and general instructional expenses, whereas course fees are course-specific materials or resources that not every course needs. I will share, though, that we will contemplate the work done in recent years on course fees as we develop and propose a differential tuition approach for the board to consider in the coming months. Now, after that huge amount of data I just threw at all of you, I just want to review what our next steps are. And if you can go to the next slide, please, Elsa, and one more. So we will certainly continue to gather questions and feedback from the governing board today and in coming weeks, and anybody else who has questions or feedback as well. We will develop comprehensive recommendation for basic tuition and differential tuition in the coming months, being July and August. We do have another work session planned for September, and at that time we will present any additional information along with a recommendation for tuition anticipated for the fiscal year 23-24 cycle, if you will. And before I turn over to questions, I just want to go back to my song choice and just point out again that it took a village to pull all of this together. And I really, really want to thank Dr. Sasha Radicic and ABC Differential Tuition Subteam, as well as the budget team, for working through all of this data and providing perspectives to get us to this point. Many have provided input to this process, but these folks really got things rolling for us, and I could not express my appreciation nearly enough to all of them. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions or write down questions if we don't have answers available at the immediate moment.
Thank you, Ms. Gruneo. And your song choice is good, recognizing that you are not an individual without support surrounding you prior to this presentation. So thank you for making the acknowledgements you did. With that, board members, even we're missing two that I know are pretty inquisitive individuals, but I'd like to go through each one of us and see if there are key questions. Want to also remind board members that if you're mulling over what kind of question or inquiry you want to make, we can have you submit your questions in writing and an answer would be sent to everyone for that consideration. I also want to suggest that Mr. Burnett, I know you're out there and you're representing your students. I won't be asking you for questions this evening. Certainly you have the opportunity also to frame your questions in writing and we would all receive an answer. I appreciate that we are scheduled or will schedule another work session in September where we can dig deeper based on today. But with that, let's go through board members and Mrs. McGrath. I'd like to start with you. Do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Gruneo this evening?
Yes, I'd like to know why we put the four-year universities in as our competition. I don't see that at all. And I don't understand why they want to use that when we're an entirely different animal. And I wonder what's the problem with having the tax money pay for the majority of it? Because in the past, when I've asked what the income is, it's been 75% comes from property tax and 23% comes from tuition. So, and also we have all these programs that we've set up to attract students. And we're losing students. Obviously, these programs aren't working. I'd like to see them ended and that money saved. I think we should be looking at ways to save money before we consider raising tuition. And I'm sure there are many places we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McGrath, for your comments. Do you have a key question outside of why did they include ASU and U of A and GCU?
I know why they do that. They don't know any better, but
No.
I don't mean that. No. But for some reason, they always like to include us along with the four-year universities. And it's just doesn't make any sense to me. And
Okay. So taking that comment you made a little bit, turning it around, Ms. Gruneo, can you frame why you chose to do the comparisons you did?
Certainly, President Sullivan and Mrs. McGrath. I guess what I would say is for many years, for as many years as I can remember, we have always included tuition rates for ASU when we've looked at any of our financials, and that obviously doesn't answer your question. But what I would say is that ASU, I would say, and Dr. Gonzalez, please feel free to disagree, but I do think ASU is somewhat of a competitor with Maricopa with the lower division classes. And one of the things that we try to get our community to know and understand is that, students can come to us for their lower division courses, whether they go as a transfer or they come in and get an associate's degree at a much lower cost than they can get the same education, and some might argue better education, than they can from ASU or even GCU. And it does seem to me anyway, and again, this is my perspective, that I think ASU and GCU have been really marketing to the same students that we would have been getting over more recent years, or at least maybe it feels that way to me. So I do think that is part of the reason why we have always shown that cost of the universities that, in many cases we buy for the same students.
Mrs. McGrath, does that answer your question?
no, it doesn't make any sense to me. but that doesn't make any difference. Go ahead.
Okay, so I feel you did answer the question of whether everyone is aligned with that is maybe something else, but thank you, Miss Granillo, for answering that. Moving on then, Dr. Narini.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've got a few questions and probably more that I'll write up. So just quickly back on slide 24. So when we're looking at those numbers, we're looking at just the cost of instructors? Or is that the cost?
Yes. That is just the cost of the instructor.
Okay, so okay, so we're paying the education teachers $100 and some a credit less than we are the auto and aviation folks?
No, I would say that it's because of the enrollment levels.
Okay.
We likely have more students in those classes, and so it brings the cost per credit hour down.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. So one of my big concerns is once we get to this point, because I don't debate that the cost is going up and our tuition and taxes aren't keeping up. But what I'm concerned about is the transparency, is in making sure that students understand what they're paying for with the differentiated tuition. And so what exactly is the differential tuition paying for? Is it just paying for the additional cost for the instructors?
I think at its, President Sullivan and Dr. Narini, I think at its basic level, yes. So what this chart is trying to show is that the students in the education classes, for instance, are subsidizing essentially the cost for the students in the auto, aviation, and manufacturing classes. And so a differential tuition structure would try to kind of balance that out a little bit better. Although I will share with you, I don't think you're going to see a proposal from us that says differential tuition for automotive program should be $200 per credit hour. I don't think that we even want to go there. So it's not necessarily about ensuring that we're covering all of the cost. It's more about trying to find a bit more balance because we're way out of balance.
Thank you. So if we got a ton more automotive and aviation students in there, that number would go down. Correct?
It could, but I imagine that, let me back up. So it depends on the reason why they're higher. So some of the CTE classes have requirements for lower ratios of students to instructors.
Okay.
So it's a possibility that in that automotive class, we're maxed out at 10 students.
I see.
Whereas in the education class or the humanities class, we can have 25 students, and so naturally the cost variance is different.
Okay. And so I guess that's just kind of the whole explanation is helpful for me. But that's why I think it's so important that we make it simple and transparent to the students and understand why they're paying this extra for whatever they're paying for. Because my next question, obviously, nobody's going to be surprised, is going to course fees, and how is differential tuition going to impact course fees? And I know we're just in the beginning stages, and this is something we'll work out. But that's one of my big concerns. Is are we going to just slap on the differential tuition and then keep the course fees the way they are, or do we get to go through and evaluate each of the courses and the fees and what those fees are paying for?
President Sullivan and Dr. Narini, so my answer is, yeah, it depends. So that is something we will be looking at. I anticipated that would be a concern of yours. And so we do truly, and I'm sure of other board members as well, we do want to make sure we get to really thoroughly explore that space. So that's why I don't have a definitive answer for you. I think we do certainly want to ensure we have transparency for students, both in the differential tuition space as well as the course fee space. And I think the course fee space has gotten a bit better over the last year or 2 years. We want to continue that work and then also see how it dovetails in with differential tuition. Again, keeping in mind that tuition generally covers the cost of the instruction, whereas course fees are expected to be for course-specific things that not every course has. So we'll keep an eye open for that for sure, and we hope to have or plan to have a more comprehensive view of that in September.
Thank you. Yeah, because I like the one college that bundled it all together so that the students know exactly what they're paying for. I just imagine the security guard at the Safeway that I work at saving up his $280 to take his intro to administrative justice class, only to find out that he gets there and he has to pay another $45 or $70 for a course fee, and then he signs up and then drops out. Which I guess the other question about that. So the differential tuition is course based and not program based.
That is one approach that we could take, and that
Okay.
I'll go out on a limb here and say that's likely the approach that we will take.
Okay, yeah, because I'm concerned, and again, this I don't expect you to have the answers, is how does our financial aid package the student? With so many of our students come in undecided, not knowing what course fee, what differential tuition they're going to be paying for, how does that financial aid package get packaged? And I know that's a question for financial aid and how they do that, but just to make sure, because I see that, the one slide that you had where we looked at the cost over the years, and what it doesn't include is again, those course fees. We know that course fees have gone up. I think if we did an analysis on the course fees over the last 10 or 15 years, we're going to see a dramatic increase of course fees versus what the tuition has been stable. So I think if we did a comparison of course fee increases versus the cost of the rest of education, we're going to find a dramatic increase. So which again brings me to the point of how is this going to impact our bachelor's degree programs? Because again, we have a limit of 150%. Is this just kind of a way around that 150%? Where we say, our base fee, our base tuition is 110% of our lower division, but we have a differential tuition rate of another, $300. So how I don't know how that's going to impact the state and how that's going to impact us with those bachelor's degree programs.
President Sullivan and Dr. Narini, that's a whole bunch of questions. So, which I absolutely appreciate. That's why we're doing it as a work session, and I'm trying to make sure I get everything captured. I'm going to go back for just a second. I am not the financial aid expert in the room, you're right. But what my anticipation would be is the cost of attendance should be adjusted for the students based on whatever the tuition rates is that they're charging or being charged, even including any course fee changes that they would have as well. All of that should be packaged correctly. So, but we'll make sure when we come back in September, we do have clear answers for that. We can take a look at changes in course fees over the years. That's a great idea. We'll take a look at that. As far as bachelor's degree programs, we will need to have a proposal for that as well for the tuition rates that we would charge there. And I'll be honest, we've had some conversation, but we haven't had enough conversation just yet about the 150%. And would we be proposing 150% of basic tuition only? Would we be charging 150% of the differential tuition if the bachelor's degree happens to be in the space of a class that was subject to differential tuition? So we will make sure we have all of that laid out as part of our proposal in September.
Okay. And one final thing, well, there's more, but one final thing for right now is just and this is, I don't expect an answer now, but just maybe as we flesh this out, we're going to be voting on that Perkins grant this afternoon, which is $2 million. And so when those grants come in, how will they impact, because those grants are coming in to pay for certain parts of these programs. How will, when those kind of grants come in, how will that impact the differential tuition? How will that impact student fees, and how will that impact just the cost of education? So, like I said, I don't expect an answer of that, but just something to keep in mind as we move forward with this consideration.
Thank you. I've made note of that, Dr. Narini.
Okay, and like I said, there's more, but I'll leave it at that for now. So, thank you.
Thank you. This isn't to cut you off. Let me go to Dr. Thor and Ms. Nguyen, and then if necessary, we can circle back to you, Dr. Narini, before we need to end, if there's something urgently pending for you on that. So Dr. Thor, your turn.
Thank you, President Sullivan. I don't have any questions, only a couple of comments. You know, you can count on me to provide some historical perspective about these things. But tuition was never intended to cover all of the instructional costs. As Ms. Granillo pointed out, state aid was supposed to be a third of our revenue and was to help cover the instructional costs. So, I mean, we mustn't forget that the loss of state aid is a big part of this problem. Secondly, it was really interesting to see the chart that presented tuition at other Arizona community college districts, because historically, Maricopa always had the highest tuition. So this is a real change from the last few years. And I think, you know, the fact that we're now the fourth lowest in tuition is jarring when you think about the fact that the rurals also get state aid. Mrs. McGrath, I would agree with Ms. Granillo that ASU and GCU are indeed competitors to the Maricopa colleges when it comes to lower division general education courses and perhaps some others in the CTE area where there may be overlap. And we also have to remember that ASU and GCU have much larger marketing budgets to attract the students who could also benefit from attending the Maricopa community colleges. I don't think any of us really want to raise tuition. However, until we can resolve the expenditure limitation issue, raising property taxes is just not an option for us at all. You know, hand in hand, we should continue to have a goal of restoration of state aid, but I don't think that that's likely in the near future in the current environment that we're in. So therefore, we have to look at, I think, a tuition increase overall, as well as differential tuition. And finally, I want to thank Ms. Granillo and the team of people behind her for a very informative, interesting, and really eye-popping presentation. It was very, very helpful to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thor. Ms. Nguyen.
I also would echo that this is, Kim, thank you for the work that you did and your team did. One of the things that concerns me is that this is the worst inflation we've had in 40 years. So when you factor in the inflation figure in a group of 4 or 5 years, it's going to skew it. And then to project for 2023, whereas your projection could be accurate, we really don't know at this point because everything that's happening with inflation right now is unprecedented. So I'm worried that what we don't want to do is increase and then have to come back the next year and increase some more because we didn't. I'm just worried about that. I'm also not a big fan of when our enrollment is low, although I don't believe it's all price driven, that we don't want to price ourselves out of the market. One of the best things that we have going for us is that we can compete with ASU and GCU, and many times people that are looking at their budget will come to us for those basic courses. And maybe we just need to do a better job of enrolling people into those courses. I'm really concerned about the enrollment figures as they currently are, and where we'll make this delta up. So, and I'm hoping, are we going to get a copy of this presentation, Mrs. Solomon, after this is done?
It's available on board docs attached to your board
Okay,
agenda.
that's right. We can, okay.
Yeah, so yes, you can.
It's there, you're absolutely, okay. Because I'd like to spend a little bit more time with these numbers. We can't, no business can run where you're paying more for the cost of your goods than you're receiving in. If we were a business, we'd be out of business. So I think that we may have classes that are ineffective. We may have teachers that are ineffective. There may be a way to come at this, another slice of this, if you will, to determine where our expenditures are versus our tuition. The year that we said that there was a recession, and Ms. Granillo, if you can help my memory, the year that our tuition covered the cost of the education, was that 2011 or 2014?
Mrs. Wynn, that was 2000. I think you're referring to the year that we had more tuition than we had budgeted.
Correct.
Yeah, that was 2012.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It was 2011.
Okay, good. Okay, for my memory to get a point. I think that I don't know if we're heading into a recession. It appears as though we are. I don't. That's not a good reason to. I hope we're not, but I think there's some economic factors right now that we need to take into consideration. What's happening in our community. We have a lot of growth in our community. We have a lot of companies that are trying to train workforce people, maybe do a hybrid tuition where companies that want workforce people work with the colleges and pick up a portion, maybe do that with the foundation. I'm just trying to think a little bit out of the box so that we remain affordable. We provide access to courses that are meaningful and are timely and are directed towards our community. And that maybe that we start to eliminate some of these expenses that we have that are not contributing to the overall well-being of the college. I think if we're going to do a tuition hike, I think we need to do a facelift of the community college. So those are my comments. And Kim, I'm going to go through the numbers. I did not, unfortunately, get a chance to really, I looked at it, but didn't, and I appreciate the presentation. And we'll probably follow up with several questions. And thank you for your report tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. So Ms. Granillo, it's my turn, and I'll try not to be repetitive. By pointing out in the beginning of your presentation this evening, the issues around budget projections, budget expenses, et cetera, I think was helpful. One of the elements that we might be able to talk about in September is the relationship, a little more, of tuition to the overall budget. I mean, this year we spent a lot of time in our budget sessions talking about revenues, expenses, where we were increasing, where we were decreasing, the hold on certain vacancies, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the board has put out some commitments tied to staff compensation, and it's imperative that we continue to support that issue. By staff, I mean everyone, employees generally. And so moving forward, perhaps something to do would be to remind all of us of where we stand in that revenue generation expenditure cuts, so we can tie this together, since that interest has come up a couple times this evening. But the integration is big. This issue around tuition was startling to me the very first time I heard that we only cover X percentage of costs and an X deficit, essentially. So that measure of student impact is huge, I get, and the measure of impacting the system also big. So that was very enlightening to me. And I want to thank you for being clear and definitive as you presented that information. To Dr. Narini's issues around course fees and the integration, I was kind of intrigued also by the model of the colleges where those are articulated within the costs. What I saw as perhaps a challenge in that is if there's fluctuation year to year on particular expenses, how do you establish a tuition fee that might last a few years versus constantly being in flux, depending on what external factors might be impacted or internal factors might be impacting that. So I guess I'm not really framing a question other than to say it's informative. And when we do come back in September, there are a lot of those nitpicking elements that will go in my perspective, go into your presentation to get at what is the best solution for us, recognizing we have to some degree a fixed property tax percentage in front of us. And if we are in our best days ahead, increasing enrollment, where do we begin to again see a negative return based or gap? I guess it would be the comment I would like to make. So good job. Appreciate this. It really, I believe, is insightful when you hear the figure $85 an hour and you're also looking at a family budget that can be big. If you say it's now $95 a credit hour, that for some people, and many people, is bigger. Recognizing, however, the return on investment of that $95 is huge. And I think is another element that we could discuss at the September meeting. My comments. Do you have any questions of us as we've thrown things at you? Anything you want us to comment on more so that you have greater clarity for your September presentation?
President Sullivan, I thank you for that question. I don't think so. I really would, though, like to ask and support all of you in that if you do have questions, Mrs. Nguyen, I know you referenced that you're going to go back through the presentation. It's wonderful. Absolutely. If there's any questions I can answer, out of the gate, I'm happy to do that as you're looking through it. Otherwise, if you all can get any questions or other thoughts or comments to us, we want to try to make sure that September's presentation kind of closes any gaps that we think still exist, because ultimately we would like to know, kind of the direction that we're heading in earlier rather than later, simply because if in fact we do decide that differential tuition is the right way to go, and or that change in basic tuition is the right way to go, we want to make sure we do that as soon as we can so that we can prepare our students for that. I know it won't come until fall of 23, but we all know that will be here faster than anything, and we will open enrollment for that time period in March of 23. So we want to try to make sure that we have adequate time for the system, and we also want to make sure we have adequate time to educate our students coming to us. So again, my plea is just that whatever questions you all have, and feedback, we would really like to have that so that we can make sure we can try to get as many things answered within our abilities as we can. So thank you for that.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Greenio. And the other point, I made this at the very top of my comments, and that is the integration with budget. We'll be starting to get our budget work sessions. When is the first one? September as well. September, I think it is. October. We're also going to be looking at legislative activity agendas. So though we're discussing this as a singular item today, when we're looking at the system, there are so many elements that are going to play into this overall. And I think that means for us as board members staying alert to the context of all of those elements, rather than just this is a straightforward black and white tuition, narrow lane conversation. So thank you for being open-minded to our questions. And again, board members, if you have those, and Mr. Burnett, that's you as well, certainly representing our student concerns. Please do so, and then the answers will come to all of us as governing board members and Mr. Burnett as our student trustee. Dr. Gonzalez, so thank you again, Ms. Granillo. Dr. Gonzalez, do you have any comments for us as we close this work session?
President Sullivan, I want to say thank you to Kim and the entire team, the ABC group that has helped inform this. A lot of hands touching this. You know, I'd just like to say that I think that we have been diligent in our part in helping this organization run as efficiently as possible. And there's always room for improvement. And so we're not throwing our hands up entirely. There are multiple parts of this equation. We work on the part to be efficient, to cut costs, and wherever we can. And this presentation is about bringing forth to the board, as you all know, an opportunity and space to help with this, with our financial situation for the future in a space where, as employees, we have no control. We can just present the data and information and ask that you consider this. The types of money that we're talking about is pretty significant. And at some point, if we aren't already, I truly believe we begin to cut into the core of the organization, and then we begin to impact quality. And I know we're a large organization. We have nearly 12,000 employees on payroll at any given pay period. And, you know, I'm not going to display any form of naivety here and to think that absolutely every employee is a stellar employee. I want to believe that, but you know, I know that for the most part, a vast majority of our employees come each and every day and give their 100%. And I can tell from my vantage point in the organization and the number of people that I touch on a daily basis, they give more than they're asked and they give more than they're required to do and go above and beyond the call of duty in many ways that you know, our students don't see, our community members don't see, and sometimes our board members don't see. But I'm just really proud of our employees and the work that they do. And I just thank you for the opportunity to invite you to come along with us on this journey to discuss what we're going to do related to finances in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll look forward to the presentation in September. And I know, given the caliber of these presentations, that Ms. Granillo will take, and her teams and committees will take into account all of our comments, and we'll get a good representation. So thank you so much for that. With that, then, I tend to use that phrase a lot, don't I? This concludes our work session portion of the meeting at 6:03 p.m. Please, those of you who are looking to attend our general meeting, please stay, or first our public hearing and then our meeting. Please keep this connection, though it'd be nice to have you go on mute during this portion, and I'll reconvene us at 6:30 for our public hearing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you again for the presentation. Good evening, everyone. It's 6:30 p.m. Let's get started. As a reminder, we are live captioning our meetings, so please look in the chat window of our WebEx meeting where you will find a link. Please click on that link to open a web page with the live captioning feature. Want to also announce that tonight we have with us our incoming student board member, Mr. Lynn Burnett. He's going to be sitting in on the meeting in preparation for his term to begin on July 1, 2022. So welcome, Mr. Burnett, to the meeting and the hearing. Also would like to comment that last time we were together in a meeting, I lost a Wi-Fi connection. We've tried to hone in on that issue, hoping it doesn't happen again. So if there is a gap of silence for me when I need to be present, Dr. Narini is all prepared to step in on my behalf. So at this time, I call to order the public hearing of the Maricopa County Community College District. We're here to take and read public comments, if any, regarding the proposed budgets for Gateway Early College High School fiscal year 2022 to 23 and Phoenix College Prep Academy fiscal year 22 to 23. For the record, I need to call a roll call vote of board members. Mr. Evans, are you present with us? So our student trustee not with joining us. Miss Bittersmith is on a plane, so has an excused absence this evening. Mrs. McGrath, are you present?
Yes, I am.
Great, thank you. Dr. Narini,
I'm present.
thank you. Thank for backup, just in case. Miss Smith,
Present.
thank you. Dr. Linda Thor,
Present.
thank you. Miss Nguyen,
Present.
thank you. There are 6 board members here with 1 excused absent, and our student trustee is also absent. Ms. Macias, do we have any public comments for tonight's public hearing?
No, ma'am, we sure do not.
And no requests prior to with curiosity or anything, just for the record?
No, we don't have any.
Thank you for that information. Being that this is a public hearing and we have no public comments, I'm going to conclude the public hearing portion of this meeting, and we will continue into our regular meeting right now, acknowledging that the public hearing was adjourned at 6:32 p.m. With another breath then, at this time, I call to order the regular meeting of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board for June 28th, 2022. For the record again, I will call a roll call vote of the board members, noting that Mr. Evans is not present with us. Mr. Burnett is, though not able to contribute to the voting conversation or the conversation at this time, though he will after July 1st. Ms. Bittersmith has an excused absence. And once again, Ms. McGrath, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Great, thank you. Dr. Narini?
I'm present.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Thor?
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Nguyen?
Present.
My presence, again, we have 6 board members present. We have 1 excused absence, and our student trustee, Mr. Evans, is not joining us. And Mr. Burnett is here as a listener and will begin to contribute to our meetings after July 1, 2022. We have 4 substitutions this evening. Mr. Tony Asti is sitting in for Dr. Amy Diaz as president of GWCC, who is president of GWCC. Dr. Patricia Cardenas Adame is sitting in for Dr. Ray Rivera from Estrella Mountain Community College. Mr. Greg Pereira is sitting in for Dr. Kate Smith of Rio Salado, and Mr. Herman Gonzalez is sitting in for Dr. Paul Dell, president of PVCC. Tonight, we then move to our Faculty Executive Council report. We have one entitled Introductions and Conclusions, and we'd like to welcome Dr. Camille Newton, the FEC representative for 2022-23, to the podium. And Ms. Newton, please, or Dr. Newton, please continue with your report, or please proceed.
Thank you. Good evening, President Sullivan, Governing Board members, Chancellor Gonzalez, CEC members, colleagues, and guests. Thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself. Here comes the introduction part. My name is Camille Newton, and I have the privilege and responsibility of representing the faculty of the Maricopa County Community Colleges as the Faculty Executive Council President for this coming year. I began my work in Maricopa in 2012. As residential English faculty at South Mountain Community College. Over the next 6 years, I served as an assessment coordinator, an HLC Quality Initiative co-chair, and as Faculty Senate president. In 2018, I became one of the guided pathway mapping team leads, supporting faculty as they created clear and coherent curriculum maps that lead students directly to their educational goals. For the past 2 years, I have served as a faculty lead in the District Center for Curriculum and Transfer Articulation, supporting the work of curriculum redesign and the refinement of business processes that institutionalize our guided pathways efforts. I share this history partly as an introduction, but also because I believe my work in faculty and district leadership has prepared me for the work that I will do this coming year. These experiences showed me the power of collaborative, cooperative approaches when working toward common goals. In this spirit of shared governance, I look forward to this year of collaborating with colleagues, administration, and the governing board to support students, faculty, staff, and the Maricopa Community College. But tonight is not only about an introduction, it's an opportunity to celebrate recent successful conclusions. First, faculty want to recognize Rio Salado President Kate Smith for the successful completion of her doctorate. Congratulations, Dr. Smith, at least it's recorded here. Second, we want to acknowledge and celebrate the work of Anna Chandler, who on July 1st will finish her role as the co-president of employee representation. It's always a challenge to start something from scratch, and for the last 2 years, Anna and Shannon Manji worked tirelessly to build the structure, processes, and practices necessary to create an integrated system for staff representation in Maricopa. Along the way, they have consistently collaborated with their faculty and administrative colleagues by both including us in their efforts and also by supporting ours. In cooperation with their employee representation colleagues, they have restored the important voice of the staff, invigorating the shared governance that makes Maricopa successful. I have admired Anna's work as I've been transitioning into my new role. I appreciate her cooperative approach to solving problems, her courage when challenging assumptions and sharing difficult perspectives, and her passionate, unwavering commitment to student support and success. Thank you, Anna, for providing an example of successful leadership, and thank you for all that you have done and will continue to do for Maricopa. I appreciate the opportunity to share some time with all of you tonight. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Newton. Appreciate that and welcome aboard.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now what we have in front of us is the Adjunct Faculty Association faculty report, Adjunct Faculty Report. Dr. Train has submitted a written report and requires no speaking time this evening. We now have our employee representation update. Ms. Chandler and Ms. Mange, your turn.
Sullivan, governing board members, Chancellor Gonzalez, CEC, and colleagues. My name is Anna Chandler, and I'm currently the co-president of employee representation, serving alongside Shannon Mange. In our day roles, I am the ACE coordinator at Scottsdale Community College, and Shannon is an administrative coordinator at Paradise Valley Community College. And we're going to switch it up a little bit. Usually Shannon leads, but I'm going to start us off this evening. So Elsa, next slide, please. We first wanted to take some time to celebrate the apprenticeship program graduates. This is such a great accomplishment, and just seeing another graduation completed and celebrating quite a few of our community colleges, we wanted to do a shout out to our crafts apprenticeship program graduates for 2022. Next slide. As I prepare you for the remainder of the slides, this will be a huge accomplishments of the year in going through what employee representation has done in the past year and continue to highlight just a lot of our successes and hard work. Next, we have here our Chandler Gilbert Community College employee representatives serving as our non-exempt counsel. We're going to have Tammy Lesbron-Duggan and Michael Thomas. We really want to shout out and thank to Chandler Gilbert. We know that many of these members have been a part of representation for the last 2 years. I know Tammy has served with us since our EGOC timeframe, and just really thanking them for their dedication and hard work to serve for Chandler Gilbert. Our next slide will represent our exempt council members. Mark Shafletsky, sorry, Mark, and our sworn officer is Stephen Reynolds for Chandler Gilbert Community College. Again, thank you all so much for your hard work and continued advocacy for staff. In our next slide, I also get the opportunity to just thank all of our members who will be leaving employee representation this year as we transition into a new employee representation group coming July 1. A lot of these members were able to stay with us until the end of the term. Some we want to say congratulations to new roles that they're serving within the district. But all in all, thank you so much for your service. I know that we could not be who we are without all of you, and we just hope that your advocacy continues into the years to come, as we will certainly still need your voice at your campuses. Thank you all so much for your hard work. In our next slide, can we go one more up? Sorry. I think we skipped one. Oh, I guess not. So for co-president successes, these were some of the things that Shannon and I were able to find as our successes for the year. We're really excited that we were able to be a part of all of this with the Chancellor's mission of shared governance and best practice through our leadership. We've really been able to be a part of some really big conversations, create change, implement new processes, and definitely be able to be a part of conversations that I think have really changed the way Maricopa looks to support staff and was able to really support staff through the pandemic. So Chancellor, thank you so much for the opportunities to be in these roles, and thank you to all of CEC for really opening the door for us to be able to lead with you and listen with you and learn from you. We've also taken on professional growth through our time served as co-presidents. And so those opportunities will help us be better for Maricopa, be better leaders, and be able to carry on what we've learned into the future. We also want to say thank you to the campus presidents that had one-on-ones with us, Gateway, Estrella Mountain, and South Mountain. We truly, really appreciate those one-on-one conversations and just learning what your roles as presidents are and how we can support you as we move staff representation forward. Also to our governing board members, we also want to thank you for the opportunity to be in this space. Being able to present to you each and every month has allowed us to highlight a lot of our successes and thank yous to those that are supporting us within the system, as well as champion the really hard work that staff are putting in and day out, even through the pandemic or without a pandemic. So thank you so much for this space as well. And to all of our monthly check-ins, we really enjoy that space with you as well, just being able to have one-on-one open dialogue with you so we could learn to be better leaders for our staff. Thank you all. The next slide. Probably the most exciting slide. I'm so happy to introduce Calvin Duvall as the next co-president. I will be stepping into the past president role for next term, and I'm very excited to have Calvin coming in. He's been with us since EGOC, has a lot of experience, has been a huge support system for staff representation, employee representation, excuse me, and has just been a really great leader in moving us forward. He's been the lead for our continuity team. He's helped a lot of our other leaders step into their roles and have confidence. And so I am really, really excited to see him in this space and supporting staff and leading us as we continue to grow representation. So thank you, Calvin, and we're excited to have you. Next slide. Representation successes. This is going to be what we have done as a body of representation for staff. We've been on all president search committees. We've done onboard training for our representatives so they kind of know what they're getting into. I don't think it highlights it at all to the degree of what they're about to go through in the next year to 2 years, depending on their term, but we want them to know what our expectations are and what our goals are and missions to supporting staff. IBN training, which we get from Eddie Jenna. So we're very thankful for you providing us that training and support and understanding how important IBN is. Our policy creation and collaboration policy teams, just where we are now with SPCT, it's a huge accomplishment in being able to really change what we have for staff. And then our compensation, collaboration, advocacy, all of those elements together is really moving staff forward, and we are seeing the change, and we're so thankful for that opportunity. On the right-hand side is the district level committees that we've been a part of and been able to support and have a voice in. So thank you again for that ability to have the shared governance to be in those spaces. Next slide. And a huge announcement, we will be changing our name. I know we've done this a couple times. I think EGOC, where is no secret, the name just wasn't going to fit. But now with employee representation, we've kind of just learned that employee means everyone in Maricopa. And we really wanted to bring full focus to staff. And so we will be announcing our full name as staff representation starting July 1. And that's what we will choose to move forward with at this time. Next slide, please. Our continuity committee successes. This has been a huge driving force committee of making sure that our bylaws have continuity, that we are in just where we want to be as far as our rules and bylaws and creating SOPs where they needed to be. Thank you so much to this team. I know you guys work tirelessly. I know Shannon and I ask questions all the time. How do we do things? How do things work? How are they going to move in the future? So a huge shout out to this team as they did pass and modify 14 bylaws and new SOPs throughout this last year, and really just helped bring all the aspects of staff representation together. They looked for feedback, they did commentary, they were really collaborative with the rest of employee representation, and just really thank you so much for your hard work. Next slide, please. I'm going to turn it over now to Cassandra Alvarez, who will be talking about our communication team successes. Go ahead, Cassandra.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having us, President Sullivan and members of the board. I appreciate the time. And yes, we have been working tirelessly. My name is Cassandra Alvarez, and I am the PR and marketing analyst at South Mountain Community College. I had the pleasure and honor of being an exempt council representative for the last year and an interim Senate last year. And I was one of the co-chairs for our communications team for this past year. So I wanted to share some of the successes that we've had. And one of them was really establishing and continuing to create a foundation for communication with all of our colleagues across the district by rebranding our newsletter to the Maricopa Employee Chronicles. So that is what we've been doing. We've had 11 editions of the Employee Chronicles newsletter go out, with the July version in progress currently. So we've also highlighted 11 unit representatives in each of our editions and publications. So we're very proud about that. Some of our stories that we've shared in our newsletter really were angled towards our colleagues, towards staff. So a lot of our stories that we had were regarding professional development, boosting finances and education opportunities, and some of the benefits that we have as employees of Maricopa Community Colleges and programs available to us. So every story that was in our publications was geared towards our colleagues. So we're very, very proud about that, even the beginning of the semester. So we're very happy in how this has turned out. All of these stories all of our publications can be found in our website as well. So we have a lot of transparency and have began to build a lot of trust. We've also been working on rebranding our website and maintaining our website. You will see a lot of updates and changes in how our colleagues are able to work with our website and how to communicate with us and how to get to us through our website. So we're very proud of that work. As a committee, we've also built a centralized external document drive. So in the past, we struggled in maintaining agendas and minutes and ensuring that our colleagues are able to access them easily and that they can see what we're doing, what we're voting on, and what we're talking about. So we built an external documents drive through our Google Share Drive. Since our community colleges use this tool, we decided to host it on there so that on our website, our colleagues are able to access agendas, that are able to access minutes and kind of see what we're doing. That's where public documents are also going to be living. So if we do have any document that we need to share, we have created that. So it's become a lot easier and more accessible and user-friendly for our colleagues to see what we're working on. We've also kind of worked internally as we've created processes for archives and continuity in communication so that when this does happen, when we are switching gears, for example, this is my last year and my last time as a co-chair for this team, when the turnover occurs, this is going to be a lot easier and also is going to be continuous. So other co-chairs are going to be able to take over and work off of what we've already built and be able to progress through there. So we're very proud with all of the work that we've done throughout the year. Next slide, Anna. Thank you. So I did want to put faces to the newsletter as well. This is our 2021-2022 communications team. As you can see, we are from all over the district. You can see from SMCC, Mesa Community College, Rio Salado, Glendale District Office, Gateway, and we have had representation throughout from exempt to non-exempt, and we're very proud of the work that we've been doing. All of our team members have met weekly in editorial meetings, have written stories for the newsletter, have been able to help create sustainability for our team, and have also created the external drive and have done a lot of work throughout the year. So I really wanted to kind of show you the faces of our whole team and how we've been working this next year, and for you to be able to see in the future how this continues to progress and how communication becomes a lot easier for our team. So thank you so much for having me and for being able to share my experience as communication team lead.
Thank you, Cassandra. President Sullivan, members of the board, Chancellor Gonzalez, members of CEC, and guests, this is Shannon Monchi, and I will wrap up our presentation. You will see on the screen our policy team has had many successes. You have heard them throughout the year, and you'll probably hear them in future board meetings. We collaborated with HR to design and implement the staff policy collaboration team. We went through the approval process for new employee adoption process. We proposed 7 new or amended policies to the staff policy collaboration team. Our policy team is helping our reps and senators guide unit leaders in rolling out the remote and virtual work policy as that we go back to in-person work come this fall semester. And there has been lots and lots of learning and becoming subject matter experts on the staff policy manual as we help to work to modernize the policy for all staff across the structure. This has been a wonderful team who meets weekly, and they are working very, very hard to improve this for all staff. Thank you all who are a part of this team. Next slide, please. We do want to highlight a couple campus successes. We have been focusing on representation, but this will celebrate all staff across the district. PC implemented a shared governance model, which has created a team comprised equally of staff, faculty, adjunct faculty, and administration. SEC's American Indian Programs and Director, Anna Cuddington, and colleagues have made momentous strides toward the enculturation of the land acknowledgement that celebrates the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community and the traditional lands that they are on for those people. And I apologize, I do not want to misrepresent those folks and mispronounce their names. It is the Pima and Maricopa community. The SEC promoting an inclusive community, SPAIC Council provided feedback, support, and advocacy on this and other DEI related issues, and they celebrated the adoption of their chapter this year. Congratulations to them. You will see that PVCC graciously accepted an American flag from U.S. Army Staff Sergeant George Monji, and you will see that I am his wife. He was deployed overseas this past year, and PVCC took care of me and my kids as part of the PVCC family. And so this flag was flown over Guantanamo Bay, Cuba on September 11th, 2021, in honor and thankfulness of PVCC and how they took care of their employees and made my family feel taken care of so my husband could focus on his mission at hand. So thank you all. Next slide, please. Chandler Gilbert hosted a summer destination college where they welcomed 111 CUSD fifth graders to their College of Champions. At the start of the 2-week program, staff volunteers showed their support by cheering on the students as they arrived on day 1. The program helps these kids learn how to make higher education possible. Thank you, Chandler Gilbert, for hosting such an amazing event. Next slide, please. As most of you know, our district office is going through renovations, including a facelift and remodel. So I know our colleagues are looking forward to coming back to a beautifully renovated new workspace. District office hosted brown bag lunches every month, and they were a huge success. And they want to thank all staff that have been in attendance. They were not only for district colleagues, but they opened them up to colleagues across the district. I attended quite a few, as did Anna and others, and they were just wonderfully hosted, great topics. We learned a lot, so thank you, colleagues at the district office. Next slide, please. Our sworn officers deserve to be celebrated as well. We continue to collaborate and have open communication with Chief Denglinger. Our sworn officers have passed and recertified in shooting and carrying weapons. They have been participating in extensive diversity training. All officers throughout Maricopa have completed active shooter training, CPR, and now carry Narcan in need of overdose emergencies. They have also gained insight and collaboration. We're brought together to discuss important issues with district human resources, team to create awareness that the sworn officers are being affected by the following projects: Mercer and Equity Pay. It's been great to collaborate with them over the past year and learn about this unique group of employees for Maricopa, and we look forward to helping them out in the future. Next slide, please. As you've heard many, many times, pretty much every month we present, staff and faculty are continuing to succeed in building meaningful relationships so we can collaborate and work together. We now meet monthly to be more strategic in our collaboration and support and partnership. And we know by having this meaningful relationship, it will make Maricopa better for our students. So to all our faculty colleagues across the district, thank you. Next slide. Our diversity, equity, inclusion, engagement successes. The Diversity Advisory Council had an amazing executive sponsor with Dr. Klein Namoa, but we know that he is now the college president at Joliet. We wish him success in his new role. We will miss him terribly. And DAC is in the process of identifying a new executive sponsor for this upcoming year. They did host Cultural Humility and Equity Hour webinars virtually to cover an array of topics last year, and they were very well attended, very meaningful and informative. Things like critical race theory, hiring equity, structural oppression in higher education, and many other topics. And they will be scheduling sessions again for this upcoming year. We look forward to those. The affinity group listening sessions were held this past year as well. Women, Latinx, documented, disabilities, veterans, and others. They're very, again, well attended, very informational. Thank you for hosting those sessions. And DAC will again do group listening sessions this upcoming year. So please look for those announcements and dates. Next slide, please. Okay, we are at my most favorite part of this presentation. All of it was great, but I have been looking forward to this. It's definitely a catch-22. I do not want to see Anna go as my colleague as co-president of representation. I'm looking forward to working with Calvin this next year. But Anna, you need to know how celebrated and appreciated you are. So I will ask everyone on the call to mute, turn your volumes down so we don't have an echo, as we have something to show you, Anna, how much we appreciate you.
So Eric and I are sitting here, and we just want to say thank you to you, Anna, for serving in the capacity that you've served in the last couple of years and helping the interim employee senate really emerge to where it is today and become what it is today. And we just want to say thank you for your leadership. It's been a pleasure working with you. There's no question that you have a clear passion for working in Maricopa and ensuring that all employees have an opportunity to be successful here in Maricopa. So we just really, really appreciate your leadership, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Continued success to you, and I look forward to watching you grow inside Maricopa. And please don't be a stranger.
And I want to echo those sentiments. You've been an incredible leader, an inspiration for all of us across Maricopa. We've enjoyed our meetings together. We meet on a regular basis for the laughs and the conversations. And we just know that you care so deeply about Maricopa, care so deeply about the employees. So thanks for all you've done to help make Maricopa a better place.
Anna, today we have an opportunity to celebrate you. Thank you. Thank you for your advocacy and care of Maricopa's employees. Thank you for your willingness to listen and partner with HR. Thank you for your continued service and commitment to the district, its students, and our communities. Thank you. We celebrate you today.
Anna, thank you so much for your service. We have enjoyed working with you as a group of presidents. You are such a valuable partner in solving problems to make this place a better place for all of our employees to work. So I just want to send our heartfelt thank you and wish you a great next year when you don't have to come to all these meetings.
Thank you, Anna.
Anna, you're a superstar.
Thank you so much, Anna, for all of your advocacy on behalf of all staff.
Anna, we really appreciate everything you've been done for we appreciate you immensely. And you're a Chandler, so you're one of us.
Anna, on behalf of all the sworn officers, thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you for herding so many cats, Anna.
Thanks for all the work you've done the past 2 years, Anna.
Thank you for all your support, Anna.
It was great to meet you at the employee rep onboarding session. Thank you for all you've done for us.
It's been a pleasure working with you, and I'm going to miss you a lot.
Thank you, Anna.
Anna.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for your leadership with employee representation. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Anna, for all your help this past year.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for your support and leadership this last year. We wish you all the best.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for putting your heart and soul into representation and making this what it is today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Anna, thank you for your dedication and hard work this year.
Anna, thank you for your guidance and leadership. You will be greatly missed. Thank you,
Anna.
Hi, Anna. It's Christina here from MCC. Just want to say thank you so much for all your love and all your appreciation and all your support that you've done for employee representation. We couldn't have asked for a better leader over this past couple years. So grateful for all your love and your support. Thank you so much.
Hi, Anna. This is April Colson from MCC. Thank you again for all your help and support for these past couple years, and I look forward to being a part of what you have started and created. So thank you again for everything you've done with the Employee Rep program.
Thanks,
Thank
Anna.
you, Anna.
Hey, Anna, thank you for everything you've done for us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Anna, for your leadership in employee representation.
Anna, thank you for everything you've done with employee representation across the district.
Anna, thank you for giving generously to us and for being a courageous leader.
Anna, thank you for being the voice of staff at the district office.
Thank you,
Anna.
Anna, thank you for leading us by example.
Hi, Anna. Thank you for everything you did.
Anna, you're amazing. You've done an amazing job, and we appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Anna.
Your leadership has meant the world.
You've done so much for all of us here at MCCCD.
Thank you for your support.
Appreciate you so much, Anna. Thank you.
It's been an honor working with you, Anna.
You're awesome.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Thank you so
Anna.
much, Anna. Thank you.
Hey, Anna. I just want to give a personal thank you from me to you. Because of you, I have become the leader that I am today, the woman that I am today. You have reminded me to lead in all that I do with care and compassion to support the employees and the students across Maricopa. I don't know how you take on all that you do, but you are an amazingly strong woman and you put everyone else's needs before yourself. There are not enough words to express the gratitude that I have in partnering with you these past 3 years, and I'm so, so grateful to call you my colleague and my friend. We are going to miss you terribly in representation, but we know you're not far away as you're still part of Maricopa, and we are grateful for that. We love you, Anna.
President Sullivan, for allowing us to have this long presentation and to do that video for Anna. I would like to give a shout out to Corey Porter at Glendale and Calvin Duvall at Rio. They helped record the videos and put the video together for me because I do not do IT well. So thank you both to them. And that ends our presentation tonight, President Sullivan. Thank you everyone for your time.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation this evening. And I know the board is eager to add their congratulations and their appreciation also to you, Ms. Chandler, as you move forward into the next year. We've enjoyed your reports and the work you've done with Ms. Manger in leading the employee group, and appreciate again your hard work. So thank you for your many contributions to the system. It's made a difference. Welcome, Mr. Duvall, and interestingly, as we move forward, we'll be calling you the staff representation group. But again, Ms. Chandler, good luck to you and congratulations. For the evening, I'm going to note that there is no student life report. We do, however, want to, in our consent agenda, acknowledge that we have 3 emeritus awards this evening to approve. One is for Timothy Florsheitz. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. Another is to Dr. Antonio Cardenas, and the third is for Mr. David Schmidt. We acknowledge that they're only talked about right now in our Maricopa newsletter. We're anticipating someday soon to be all together and celebrate all of our emeritus recipients. I'm going to move to Dr. Gonzalez. If you can hear me, it's time for your report. Are you there?
Yes, I just got back on, President Sullivan. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
All right, we'll try to get through this before I have some more internet issues at home. I apologize. I have notified Dr. Baczynski that if he needs to step in to carry me on at various points, that he's prepared to do that.
Well, I'll tell you, I know that gig, so thank you.
Well,
for that. So
I don't have the luxury of turning it over to Dr. Narini, so I've got to go with Dr. Baczynski.
Okay.
President Sullivan, members of the board, thank you this evening for allowing me this opportunity to provide this very quick update. The first part of this is just a very brief legislative update. And last week, the legislature adopted the fiscal year 2023 budget and officially concluded their session. This was another successful legislative session with several priorities on the board's legislative agenda accomplished, which included, and I'm very, very happy to report, the permanent restoration of the STEM formula for the Maricopa Community Colleges, which this year equates to $8.6 million in fiscal year 2023. Also, the passage of House Bill 2017, which is a 1-year reprieve from the community college expenditure limitation formula that will allow time for a longer-term solution to be developed. Also, $6 million annually to enhance support and services for community college adult education programs. As many of you may know, Maricopa through Rio Salado is the largest provider of adult education in the state. And also a variety of new programs and investments to support nursing and behavioral health workforce development initiatives. We'll be collaborating with other service organizations across the state to ensure that we beef up on what we're doing related to nursing and behavioral health workforce. I want to thank you for your leadership, Mrs. Sullivan, and I also want to thank the board members of the PAC, college presidents and staff that supported these legislative efforts. As our state's largest workforce generator, it's really nice to see that Maricopa Colleges is back in one of the 2 state funding formulas, and that the legislature is recognizing the key role that we play in workforce and economic development in the state. You can all count on a more detailed session summary in this week's snapshot that you will receive on Thursday before close of business. That concludes my personal report to you as a board. And now at this point, I'm going to turn it over to some folks from HR, specifically Stacy Smith and Josh Moss, who's going to give a brief presentation on staff professional growth policy.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. President Sullivan, members of the board, Chancellor Gonzalez, members of CEC and guests, my name is Stacy Smith, and I serve as the Executive Special Assistant for Policy for District HR and also the Staff Policy Collaboration Team co-chair along with my colleague, Josh Moss. And today we're going to briefly overview the staff professional growth policy that has been presented to the board for approval. Next slide, please. We're going to just briefly talk about the background of staff professional growth and look at the proposed policy, its purpose, applicability, how it's been socialized to get to this point, and an overview of both the policy and the funding structure, and just highlight some major changes and talk about the timeline. Next slide. Now I'll turn it over to Josh to discuss the background.
Thank you much, Stacy. President Sullivan, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, members of CEC and guests. My name is Josh Moss. I am from Paradise Valley Community College, but today I am presenting to you as co-chair of the Staff Policy Collaboration Team and the outgoing Vice President of Staff Representation. As most of you know or remember, in 2020, the Office of Internal Audit and Management Advisory Services conducted an audit really to address some significant differences in professional growth opportunities that were afforded to various classified staff based on our old group policy manuals. Two establishments were really set forth to the Classified Staff Professional Growth Committee, and that was, to set up equitable professional growth opportunities within the employee groups and to centralize professional growth administration with a single group and committee and budget. Prior to this, there were 5 non-faculty employee groups with individual policies, programs, committees, and budgets. And in July of 2016, those 5 policy groups were consolidated into one professional growth group with one budget. The audit office charged the CSPG committee with developing policies and procedures to address the differences in policies between these groups. Next slide, please. With that, now we have the Staff Professional Growth Program, and its purpose remains the same as we move forward into a policy, and that's to help employees achieve their long-range career goals by encouraging them to participate in educational, training, and experiential learning opportunities so that they can complete a degree or certificate and really set themselves up for new opportunities within Maricopa. To reiterate, this is a program we've really already had, and now we're just finding the mechanism to formalize it into policy. This policy applies to all classified staff and specially funded employees who are subject to the staff policy manual and are in an active work status prior to the start date of their professional growth opportunity. We are excited to include specially funded staff in this policy and program, and we are asking that specially funded employees will use their grant-provided professional growth funds, if available, prior to requesting the district funding afforded by this program. Next slide, please. Through our improved employee policy adoption process, it is critical that the Staff Policy Collaboration Team engages stakeholders in the development phase of policies. Here you can see a list of various groups that were collaborated with for the official creation of this policy in partnership with the Classified Staff Professional Growth Team. Some of the members include our staff representation, CEC, President's Council, VP councils, various DEIE groups, district and local HR, and district legal. We also work closely with our faculty collaborator on these efforts as well. From here, I'm going to go and pass this back to Stacy to talk a little bit more about the policy details. Next slide, please.
So the proposed policy really is to take all of those employee groups' different policies for professional growth and put it into one. So there's one consolidated policy, one set of opportunities, one space where employees and those in the Staff Professional Growth Committee can go and have clear, consistent policies and really can just be more efficient with how the funds are given out to staff, as well as how the staff can actually use it and know where they can, including clear and consistent standard operating procedures for everyone to follow. Next slide, please. The proposed policy also has explains the funding structure, which remains consistent with what is actually currently being practiced. So the governing board approves the staff professional growth funding each fiscal year, and then the staff professional growth co-chairs and committee work together to set out the funding for each of the different programs. And I just want to highlight there are 3 different programs, and one has been renamed the Innovation Internships, and formerly it was not Creative Pathways, it was the PSA internship. And the others are education and activities and paid educational leave. And any unused professional growth funds are rolled over for up to 5% to the next year. And this kind of gives you a snapshot of the budget for fiscal year 21 and how that went through to the different parts of this professional growth funding. And you see fiscal year 19, 20, and 21. Next slide, please. And this just highlights some of the major changes to the policy. As Josh mentioned, the policy is already there. This is consolidating it into one, right? But some of the major changes that we wanted to highlight are, as Josh mentioned, specially funded positions are now eligible for professional growth funds. They can apply for the activities and education program funding, but must use grant funding first if that's available, and then can request funds from the district. The other piece is the paid educational leave program. And this has been changed so that the eligibility is reduced from 6 years to 4 to 6 years, depending on the length and the type of opportunity chosen. And so staff can choose different opportunities and even take half time to complete a degree or certification. And staff can take a maximum of 4 opportunities, which equate to basically an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a doctorate's degree. And previously this limit didn't exist, but now having this limit allows more staff to participate and take advantage of this program. Next slide, please. And I'll turn it over to Josh.
So really, when we're looking at the next steps, below is the proposed timeline for this policy. Obviously, today we are here presenting it to you for the first time, and then we will be back on our August meeting with you all for the final read. Assuming its approval, updates to the professional growth website and materials, the published policy, and the SOPs will be made, as well as we will begin a socialization plan, town halls to really get this out to the staff so they can start planning for, hopefully their next year of educational opportunities. And then in September, early September, we will announce the policy changes officially in a district-wide email and the Maricopa. Next slide, please. And from here, we are happy to take any questions if you would like. Thank you so much.
President Sullivan, I don't know if you're muted.
Okay, there we go. Sorry. What I was commenting on is normally we do not take questions under your reports on topics. I'm concerned, given this is a first read, essentially, that the board does need to have an opportunity to ask questions and engage in dialogue on this before we get to a second read, I expect, unless we turn this to an action item, second read with discussion. So want to certainly extend our appreciation to Ms. Smith and Mr. Moss on today's presentation. Dr. Thor, your historical perspective on this in terms of Q&A, is there something I'm missing in that space?
No, Mrs. Sullivan. The only concern I had that I brought up at agenda review was the implication that the educational leave was only for advanced degrees. And I noticed in the presentation before us today that that was corrected.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, board members, not necessarily an exchange of conversation? Okay, being none, then I want to again thank you, team, and Dr. Gonzalez and the HR group for bringing this forward this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, President Sullivan. That concludes my update.
Okay, thank you again. Moving on to citizens interim, this is, the opportunity for people to address the board. I believe we do not have anyone to present this evening. Is that correct, Ms. Macias?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Thank you. Now moving on to consideration of consent agenda items. All items under this section are consent matters unless they're removed from the consent agenda at this time. Do any board members or the chancellor wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Being none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, don't everyone leap in at once. Who was the first voice?
I think Dr. Narini beat me at the finish line.
Okay, Dr. Narini, you made the motion and
I will second his motion.
thank you, Ms. Nguyen. So is there any discussion? Oh, sorry, I always do that. All those in favor of supporting the motion, please vote by saying aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Are there any opposed to the motion? Being none, the motion carries on a vote of 6-0, noting that one of our members is absent this evening. I also want to ask the question, would members of the board approve the use of their electronic signature on the approved fiscal year 22-23 budgets for Gateway Early College High School and Phoenix College Prep Academy? If you are not willing to do that, please speak up now. Otherwise, we will assume yes. Is there anyone who does not approve of using your electronic signature on this? All right, so Ms. Macias, all board members do approve use of their electronic signature, so we will be receiving that. Moving then to our non-consent agenda action items. The first one is adoption of changes to Board Policy 2.0, Chancellor Limitations and Interpretations. Is there a motion to approve changes to Board Policy 2.0, Chancellor Limitations and Interpretations? Do I have a motion?
Ms. Smith, so moved.
Okay, was that you, Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. There's a motion on the table to approve the changes to the Board Policy 2.0. Is there any discussion on the motion? Being none, all those in favor vote by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Being none, the motion carries 6-0. Moving on to the second reading and approval of the 22-23 Faculty Administration Collaboration Team Agreement effective July 1, 2022. Is there a motion to adopt the 22-23 FACT agreement?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Narini. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Nguyen, I assume that's you. So
It is still, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Queen of the seconds tonight. I'm good.
Is there a motion? So a motion being made to adopt the 22-23 Faculty Administration Agreement. Is there any discussion on the motion? Being none, all those in favor vote by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, the motion carries on a vote of 6-0. Moving to the third item, approval of right-of-way dedication to the City of Phoenix for water and sewer at South Mountain Community College, 59th Avenue property. Is there a motion to approve the right-of-way dedication, etc.?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Thor. Is there any discussion on the motion? Being none, all those in favor vote by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? By a vote of 6-0, the motion carries. Are there, so with that, I don't believe are there any comments or questions on our first readings and information items this evening? Are there any comments on our monitoring report presentations? Moving to community linkage reports, I'll start with you. Ms. Bittersmith is absent, so Dr. Narini.
No report this month.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
I don't have a report either. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. McGrath?
No report.
Thank you. Dr. Thor?
Well, I hate to ruin the no report line, but I do have a report.
Okay, please go ahead.
I'll try to make it brief. I was delighted to join Susan Bittersmith on May 31st in greeting Senator Mark Kelly when he visited the Estrella Mountain Community College Southwest campus to receive a briefing on the semiconductor technician quick start training program. On June 13th, I joined you, Ms. Sullivan, as well as Mrs. Bittersmith in the Champions of Maricopa luncheon at the CEI Lab Force, which is a fascinating place. At the luncheon, we honored our legislative champions. And then finally, on June 16th, along with Dr. Narini, I attended the Rio Salado College's high school equivalency graduation. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Thor. Ms. Nguyen?
I just want to say that I've had the privilege of working with 3 different corporations that have come through I'm going to missay what it is, but the Entrepreneurial Center at Gateway, that have all now received multi-million-dollar contracts and are launched into the world. And it's really exciting to see what's happening at our community college being applied to solve real world problems. And I'm excited about all of them, but the one that is having a particular impact is one that is removing PFAS from the water. So that's removing toxins from the water, and they're doing it they're doing it at Davis Monthan Air Force Base. And so at a time when water is a critical issue in Arizona, it's nice to see that our community college system is contributing to the solution to solve the problem. So I've been able to have a front row seat to that, and it's very exciting. So I just want to, we don't know the impact that we have some days, and I think it's really great if we can get these stories out and remind people in the community what a valuable partner that we are. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Here we are, group, at the end of the fiscal year, and it's been quite a year. We're anticipating an exciting new fiscal year. I know a lot of people aren't present this evening, given that there are substitutes online, but want to acknowledge everyone's efforts this year. And for those who are transitioning either to new positions or retiring, though you're on the line with us this evening, want to say thank you for your tremendous service to our district, and we wish you the best in your new life outside of the district, whatever that may be. Also want to acknowledge that Mr. Evans served a year with us, and to acknowledge his work with us and participation, we have prepared a plaque for him, thanking him for his service as our student advisory board member for the year 2020 to 21 or 22. Here we are. And I realize with him not present, he's not aware of this, but it will go on the record, and he will be receiving his plaque by delivery. Thank you also, Dr. Thor, for bringing up the times that we've been together over the last couple months, and there's been a lot of activity going on But we're going to bring this to a close by reminding everybody that there have been a couple changes for our next convening, will now be officially August 9th, 2022, in a work session and agenda review meeting, 4:30 on that date. We will be, for the remaining months, August through December, having our agenda reviews 2 weeks prior to our general board meeting. So the next time we will be together virtually will be August 9th, 2022, with the board meeting in person, unless something goes askew, on August 23. It will, there will be more activity around that, but we will convene on August 23 in the Rio Salado Conference Center. We also may have a slightly new format to our agenda beginning then, but we'll see how that goes. So those are the announcements around our meetings. And here we are at 7:32. I'm going to wish you all a great summer. The board again will not be together and convened until August. So to my fellow board members, enjoy your month off, and I look forward to greeting you in August. For the good of the order, we are now adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Good night.